All right, so today we're going to break down two wildly different but incredibly powerful blueprints for success. One comes from the cutthroat world of real estate and, well, politics. And the other? It comes from an ancient Zen monastery. Let's see what happens when we put them together. I know, right? It sounds like the setup to a weird joke. What can a former president and a Zen monk possibly teach you about success? But stick with me here, because by the end of this, you're going to see how these two perspectives, one all about massive, explosive ambition, and the other about relentless, quiet discipline, can actually be combined to create a system for achieving your goals that is, well, pretty much unstoppable. So let's start with the first approach, the Western one, and it's summed up perfectly in this quote. If you're gonna do something, you might as well think big. I mean, that's a philosophy of just massive scale. The core idea is simple. Don't just aim high. Aim for the absolute biggest, most audacious prize you can possibly imagine. And then you have this, a totally different universe. This comes from an ancient Japanese Zen system called gyoji, and it is a stark contrast. Here, it's not about the size of the goal at all. It's about the unbreakability of the process. This is a system designed to build a level of consistency that is, frankly, a little bit frightening. Okay, so let's dive into it. We're going to explore these two blueprints across three key areas. First, mindset, then method, and finally, momentum. So what you're really looking at here are two completely different operating systems for how to achieve things. You've got the ambition blueprint on one side, that's all about the fire, the big goals, the passion, the personal drive. And then you have the discipline blueprint, which is all about building the engine, the automated system, the unbreakable consistency that guarantees you'll actually get where you're going. So let's kick things off with that first, most critical component, your mindset. Right, everything, and I mean everything, starts with your mindset. And here we have two totally different starting points. One philosophy tells you to think bigger, and the other tells you to make your commitment, well, irreversible. And you can see the contrast right here. It is crystal clear. The ambition blueprint is all about maximizing your return on effort. Go big or go home. But the discipline blueprint, that's about eliminating any possibility of retreat. It's the difference between aiming for the moon and burning the boats on the shore, so you have to reach the other side. There's no going back. Okay, let's really break down this think big idea. The logic is actually super simple and kind of compelling. Solving a small problem is going to have delays, setbacks, headaches, right? Well, guess what? Solving a huge problem involves the exact same types of delays, setbacks, and headaches. So since you're going to have to put in the work and deal with the stress anyway, you might as well go for a result that is truly life-changing. Makes sense when you put it like that. Now, for the other side. This is where a little bit of neuroscience comes into play, and it's fascinating. The gyoji system totally gets this. When you make a commitment public, you're not just making a flimsy promise. Nope, you're actually activating your primitive brain's deep-seated fear of losing social status. All of a sudden, failure isn't just disappointing, it becomes a threat to your social survival. And that, my friends, is a much, much more powerful motivator than plain old willpower. So how do you actually do this in practice? It's pretty straightforward. The source material gives this great example of a programmer named Raphael who used this exact method. He literally wrote down his goal on paper, signed it like a contract, and then he posted it on social media for everyone to see. He told everyone he knew. What did that do? It made retreating more painful than continuing. The very thought of having to admit failure to all his friends and colleagues, it became unbearable. It basically forced him to follow through. Okay, so you've got the mindset locked in, but what about the day-to-day grind, the actual execution? Let's compare the two methods for getting things done. One is driven by passion, the other by pure process. And here we go again, another fundamental split. The ambition blueprint basically says the feeling should drive the action. If you love it, you'll do it. Simple. But the discipline blueprint, it says the action has to be completely independent of how you feel. The process is king, and your emotions, they're just irrelevant variables that need to be eliminated from the equation. This quote right here just perfectly illustrates that passion method. The source tells the story about his father, who was a total workaholic but absolutely loved what he did. For him, putting in all those insane hours, it didn't even feel like work. It was fun. The passion, the love for the game, that was the engine. The gyoji system, though, takes the complete opposite view. It argues that variety is where consistency goes to die. Remember our programmer, Raphael? He found that even if he knew when he was supposed to work, his brain would start negotiating what he should do. So he locked it down. 20 push-ups, 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of reading. Same order, same time, every single day, no exceptions. This is what they call the one way. Now, here's the crucial point. This robotic-sounding process isn't meant to be your life forever. It's just a training period. It's like putting training wheels on a new habit. And there's science to back this up. Research shows that after about 66 days of repeating the exact same action, a part of your brain called the basal ganglia, the habit center, it just takes over. The action becomes automatic. You're not using willpower anymore. You're just doing it. It's on autopilot. All right, so you've got the mindset, you've got the method, but the real challenge, as we all know, is sustainability. It's about staying in the game. How do you keep going over the long haul, especially after a setback, or, just taking a vacation? Let's see how each blueprint handles momentum. The ambition blueprint gives us this really powerful, kind of sad cautionary tale about losing momentum. This guy, William Levitt, he was an absolute titan of industry, a legend. He builds this massive company, sells it, retires to a life of pure luxury on his yacht, completely steps away from the game, but then, about 15 years later, he gets the itch. He tries to come back, buys his old company back, and the magic was just gone. The world had changed, the markets turned, and he lost it all, went bankrupt. And this is the key. This is what he said about it. Levitt himself knew exactly what went wrong. He said, "No, son, I lost my momentum. I shouldn't have done it. I lost my momentum." He didn't lose his skill. He didn't lose his smarts. He lost his momentum. He broke the chain and he could never, ever get it back. So how do you prevent that kind of collapse? That is the million-dollar question, right? If stopping, even for a good reason, is so dangerous to your long-term success, how do you build a system that never stops, even when life inevitably gets in the way? And this is where the Goji system offers a really brilliant solution. The core principle is called practice without gap. And I love this analogy. A river that stops flowing isn't a river anymore. It's just a memory of where water used to be. And it's the exact same for your habits. The second you create a gap, you're no longer practicing. You're just someone who used to practice. So the goal is to keep the flow going, always, even if sometimes it's just a tiny trickle. And this is how you actually do it. It's genius. You don't wait for obstacles to hit you. You plan for them in advance. You literally sit down and identify every possible thing that could derail your routine. Travel, getting sick, surprise guests, you name it. And you predetermine your response. You create an if-then plan. If the hotel gym is closed, then I will do push-ups in my room. If I'm sick with the flu, then I will do just 2 push-ups and read 1 single page. See what that does? It removes decision-making right when you're stressed and tired and most likely to quit. It ensures the practice continues, no matter what. So we've looked at 2 very different paths, one of explosive, giant ambition, and the other of relentless, unshakable discipline. But here's the final thought. What if it isn't a choice between one or the other? What happens when you actually combine them? And this, for me, is the ultimate takeaway from all of this. You need both. The ambition blueprint, that gives you the fire. It's the big vision, the passion, the thing that tells you why you're even doing this in the first place. But the discipline blueprint, that gives you the engine. That's the unbreakable, automated system that guarantees you'll keep moving forward day after day after day. One is the destination, the other is the vehicle. You're not going anywhere without both. So the final question really is for you. Think about your biggest, most audacious goal, your think big goal. Now imagine pairing that vision with a system so consistent that people might even find it a little frightening. What could you possibly build if you combine that fire of ambition with an unbreakable engine of discipline?